Hey guys, Tristan and Troy here, back with another podcast. Very, very excited to be back. A lot of stuff happening in the basketball and the card world. We're going to start off talking with our trade deadline reactions. A lot of cool stuff happening, kind of shaking up the league. We're going to get into a general, market talk. Always want to update you guys weekly. We have LaMelo hurt, LeBron out, a bunch of guys out. What's been going on? And then we're going to finish up with something kind of fun. I know everyone kind of likes the what should I buy segments. And I recently got some money and I've free reign to invest for a friend. So me and Tristan are going to talk about what maybe we should be going after. But first, the intro.
Damn,
there it is.
You really did do a good job with that intro.
No, hey man, that's all I was actually about to say. I'm sorry I cut you off there a little bit. I was so eager to see the intro again. I just had to get right into it.
Honestly, it's not bad. For the production value is not bad.
It's good, man. It's good. I'm a fan. We're gonna keep. I think, like I said, the one thing we need is we're gonna. Hopefully we'll get to go to a card show soon. The world seems to be opening up a little bit, at least in the US, and then we'll have some nice clips to get in there as well. That's the only thing I would add. But That's enough inside baseball to start it off. We'll get into the trade deadline. What do you think? What were your takeaways?
Probably along with most other people, pretty impressed with the teams at the top. Obviously the Nets getting LaMarcus Aldridge after the buyout. I think the Bucks have made small improvements. And then the Lakers getting Drummond off the buyout is a pretty big deal. Do we talk about, I guess we didn't really talk about, the PJ Tucker deal and all those other things, but I think, people are kind of up in arms and angry that, it's like the rich getting richer, but I'm kind of happy to see it. I think we're in for a crazy playoffs and finals. There's a couple different matchups. Honestly, any of the top 5 or 6 teams, I think will be extremely exciting. What were your big takeaways?
Well, I watched the Troy Reich Bowl last night. We had John Collins versus Aaron Gordon, new look Nuggets, and man, I was impressed with the Nuggets. I guess that was my main takeaway. They look good. They just have so much I was gonna say so much athleticism. Okay, they have Jokic, but they just look good, man. You know what I mean? How much? I guess I would say talent. They have a lot of talent and a lot of guys who can do different things out there. That was my main takeaway. I am not as for the Nets, especially. I wasn't really, there are people who are saying they're cheating. This is unfair. I can't believe it. They have 5 All-Stars or whatever it is. It's I don't know. For me, I wish I could come with a more I have the data, but I just don't see Aldridge and Blake Griffin being huge factors. It doesn't hurt to have them. I would say Drummond, maybe. It's just kind of an interest. There's all these bigs, and it's even McGee, right? McGee is on the Nuggets, and then the Lakers have Drummond and Gasol. I don't know. I'm not sure how much any of these bigs are. It's a couple minutes. It helps, but I guess it's just not. It's not changing my view of who's going to win. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think there wasn't any I think Aaron Gordon getting picked up by the Nuggets was probably the best pickup. Yeah. I forgot about that when I was talking. I think to your point, that Nuggets team, they're still all so young. I think Jokic is 26, Murray is 23 or 24. Then they have Michael Porter, who's actually playing really well this year, shooting I think over 50% from the floor, hitting threes, finally starting to defend a little better. And it's kind of interesting. They let, I actually was listening to a podcast this morning, but talking about how they let Jeremy Grant walk. But then they paid Aaron Gordon, or at least traded for Aaron Gordon. And I'm assuming they are going to pay him when his contract is up. But I don't know, man, that team is really talented, at least on the offensive side. I think with those main 3 guys, it kind of sucks that none of them are plus defenders. But now with Aaron Gordon, you have another lob threat. And then you have Murray and Porter and Jokic, and all these guys can shoot. So I think they're going to be super fun on the offensive side of the ball. If you put Aaron Gordon on that team last year, that team I think they took the Lakers to 6, right?
Yeah, they did.
So now all these guys are 1 year better, and then you add Aaron Gordon, who's I think an upgrade from Paul Millsap, to say the least. So I think that team honestly has gotten a lot better. And then like the small pieces, I think Rondo to the Clippers could help. Lou Williams was pretty unplayable last year in the playoffs, and Rondo was like a huge plus for the Lakers. So there's a lot of things, like even PJ Tucker to the Bucks. Like it's just nice to have another shooter slash defender, in the playoffs. You can't get enough of those guys. So I'm kind of with you. I think the Gordon move was probably the only thing that really moves the needle, but sometimes small pickups like Drummond helps now with the Lakers, with having LeBron and Anthony Davis hurt. He at least helps them win some games now.
True. Yeah. The only other one, I guess, worth the big one we haven't talked about would be the Vooch to the Bulls. I feel like for me, it's almost getting too much attention. I don't know, maybe not too much attention, but like another one, like you say, moving the needle. What does that really change? I mean, the only thing it says is like, congrats to the Magic for finally they just had to blow it up. But in terms of the Bulls, I've heard people like genuinely get excited for them, maybe, making some noise this year. And I just don't see it. I like Vooch. Shout out to us. We met him actually, a couple of years ago. We got
drafted.
we got that.
Right? You said we were there, and I was kind of like, who is this guy? European guy on USC, right? Was it?
Yep.
And we were there. We met like the whole team, and you were like, this guy's going to be a future All-Star. And I was like, Troy, you want to bet on that? Like, give me some free money. There's no way this guy's an All-Star. And then I think 2 years ago, you hit me up when he made his All-Star team. I don't know if it was last year. And now he's playing the best basketball of his career. He's averaging like over 25 a game, I think, going nuts. If you watched Magic games before he got traded, he was probably like the lone bright spot in that team. Super dynamic on offense.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm 2 for 4 with my predictions. I got Tyler Hero and Vucevic wrong.
I'm not going to ever.
Stanley Johnson was wrong, and I definitely thought OJ Mayo was a future MVP as well. So I got a little bias in there, but yeah, he's a really talented player. I like his game, obviously. Personal bias too, but I just for the Bulls. I mean, you have Levine, and I think I was listening to Zach Lowe as well and talking about what their offense can do. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're going for over there. It doesn't excite me too much.
I mean, I think at least it puts them like firmly in the playoffs. I think they were kind of on the cusp. And I think that with Levine and Vucevic and Kobe White and all these guys, I think they have enough to get it done. At least enough to at least make 6 through 8 seed maybe. But I agree. I feel like on defense it's going to be really bad. And Lowry, Markkanen, and Vucevic seem kind of similar, at least like if Markkanen was playing well. So I kind of agree with you, but I mean some fans like want to just make the playoffs. Like Portland fans are happy that they're in the playoffs every single year for the last 5 years. I think it's nice to have that, and I think the Bulls they've been missing the playoffs for so many years now. They're sick and tired of it. So sometimes you kind of need to make a move like this, and then you hope that your young guys pan out.
That's the thing I always remind myself, because I'm always like, why doesn't every team just blow it up? I would never sign like Corey Maggette or Nick Batum or all these type of guys. But it's like, it's easy to be a terrible team if you're playing a video game or something.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
You're in 2K. Let's blow it up. Let's get all of our first round picks.
But if you're, trying to, it'll be good for the fans. It'll be good for the Bulls to hopefully make the playoffs. So I guess that makes sense to me. I guess that's kind of all I have on the trade deadline. Oh, the only last thing to keep it kind of more card related is I was curious what you thought, because when I saw that Aaron Gordon trade happen, even Drummond and all these guys, their cards went up, obviously. And I was like, man, I should have just bought some Aaron Gordon and all this kind of stuff. But also at the same time, I was thinking about it like, sure, that's a play getting ahead of the trade deadline. But if Aaron Gordon and Andre Drummond don't get moved and you own their cards, I mean, you're just stuck. Like, what are you even doing with those?
Well, even now, like, let's say the Nuggets don't make noise in the playoffs this year. I think whatever you saw his cards rise, they're going to fall right back down. Unless he really plays well, which I think people were kind of betting on that potential. But for a guy that's 25 or 26 or Drummond, like, I don't know, 28, 29, there's not a whole lot they can do unless they get a ring and they're actually like a key contributor on that team. But, I saw people post like a LaMarcus Aldridge silver refractor from his rookie year. And I think it's cool. Yeah. Some guys, you and I are kind of like from like the like top 25 player or bust category. And I think there's money to be made with other guys, DeMar DeRozan or these other guys that have just had really good careers. They may not be like Hall of Fame shoo-ins, but they've been solid. And, we kind of grew up watching them and they've been solid their whole career. I'm kind of saying that to play devil's advocate because I'm kind of with you. Like I'm not collecting those guys' cards. And I think there's money to be made elsewhere. And I'm not like, it wouldn't be that fun for me having like an Aaron Gordon card. Besides the fact that we played against him in high school. That'd be like the only thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I will we'll see. Maybe we'll have to make this a real editing journey for us on that because we have some great photos to share. We have the photos of us and Vooch, and then we also have the photo of Aaron Gordon dunking on me. So we have some.
Did you say photo or there was an S after that, right? The second one?
Yeah, I mean videos. They got it. They literally they have the phantom cam. They have it in slow motion on our high school baseline. I still stand by. That was the first ever phantom cam at a high school game. This was 2013, bro. They just added that to the NBA.
Hey, the comments were coming for your neck. I don't know if you remember. It's like number 52 on white. You got murdered, bro.
I blocked it out. I blocked it out from my memory. But
you didn't post the one thing over your door as your motivation every day? No.
Maybe I should have. But the one thing I was going to say is I'm trying to decide, like you talked about moves to be made and everything. I was hearing someone talking about too, minor leaguers, right? You buy the top prospects, like a lot of them are at spring training right now. And he was saying most of them aren't going to make the big league roster when they get sent down and they kind of bottom out, buy them, and then they'll go up when they get called up. And I was like, man, that makes sense to me. Same thing with the trade deadline. I was like, I should get better at just timing these kind of things, but also at the same time, it's tough too. So I don't know. I know you don't really.
I think
it's a lot of effort.
But they have a point. Like I think, and honestly, this is kind of how I was maybe a year ago. I was more on my stuff when it came to like buying and selling, and I would, if I could make 50% profit, I'd flip it and then reinvest the money. But like it becomes tedious, and I kind of sometimes you do better just holding on to a big card. These other cards will rise and fall, and then out of nowhere, like the Messi card that you have will do 3 or 4x what it was worth before. So sometimes I've kind of transitioned into the school of thought of just getting the best players, their nicest cards, and just holding. But like to your point, there really is money to be made, with trade deadline stuff or these, people in the minors and baseball, and then especially I always say it every podcast, but like the seasonal dips are so predictable. Off season right away, or like players that aren't going to be in the playoffs get a dip right off the bat if their team is out, and then the preseason bump is ridiculous for these guys that still haven't done anything.
Yeah, for sure, and I think both of us kind of play the cycles at least to an extent. I guess I just more so mean I'm going to try to. I'm pushing myself better once again, more inside baseball, like as a content creator, because I know it'll help people, even if it's not necessarily the stuff I want to do. But I just think about man, if I was in high school, I would be, both of us, I think would be so good, man.
Grind city.
Grinding. So I guess that would be, I'm going to try to get better too, but I guess that would just be the quick advice too. Like there's plays to be made. If you put in the work, you can really do it. Yeah. But okay, that's the trade deadline stuff. It's actually kind of a good transition into the overall market. We talked about it a little bit before we started filming. It's kind of in an interesting place right now. I think, I was even debating with some people on my YouTube channel talking about, I was showing Prism bases and they're like, hey, the other stuff is still up. I think I still believe on a whole, it's hard to say the basketball market has not dipped in the last couple months, particularly outside of, your LeBron James, Topps Chrome refractors, those kind of things. But yeah, I don't know. We're in an interesting place. I'll let you take it away because you were talking about LeBron and LaMelo. What do you think of what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think with those two, I think LeBron is obviously the first person you look to when you look at the basketball market and you look at prices. Usually, if his stuff's going nuts, all the younger guys' stuff is going nuts too. And then LaMelo was definitely the most exciting rookie. He was a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year, and then he goes down, right as all these new cards are coming out. So I think that coupled with, it was already kind of a couple months, there was all this buzz. You have, what do you call it? You had the crypto, what's that market called again? You had Top Shot coming out, all the NFT stuff. Like you have all this new money, and I think the excitement kind of wore off a little bit. but also like even, stock market's down a little bit. I think there's just kind of an overall dip, which I'm not surprised about. I'm not like saying, it's the end of the world, but I think it was kind of predictable because stuff can't just keep going up, over and over and over. We did probably 10 podcasts in a row where we were talking about all-time highs, especially like for these nicer cards. So I think it was only a matter of time for this stuff to dip, and it's still way up from like 8 months ago even. So, but in the last month, it does seem like, stuff has dipped. LeBron stuff has gone down. Embiid was going crazy. Then his prices have gotten cut. Even Jokic's stuff went nuts, and they seem like they've come back to earth. So, this is kind of the time in the season. Even last year, this happened like right before the playoffs. There's enough time where there's still not that like playoff bump, but I think in the next couple of weeks, you'll see like the main guys get their prices coming up again. And then with football starting to heat back up. So I think football prices are going back up. So that was kind of a rambling agreement with you. I think the market has dropped slightly, but I think there's reasons to think it should improve, at least for certain sectors.
Yeah, you had some good stuff in there, so I want to kind of save, like you talk about the playoff bump. I want to save that for when we put together our little $5,000 portfolio here at the end. But yeah, I agree with you. The one thing I do think that's interesting that you kind of noted is like LeBron is down. I think I was looking specifically at LeBron James Topps Chrome and then Kobe Topps Paper, and those were down like 50%, I think, from the highs. So I was just kind of saying to people, I think the mindset of like the GOAT, only invest in the GOATs. The GOATs are untouchable. I think some people actually got caught up in that. They're like, well, it's still a GOAT. Why would I not buy LeBron and Kobe? And then you're down 50%, which is significant. So it's all cycles though. I guess that's how I feel. And I think there might be an opportunity here with LeBron. I'm thinking about 100%. Picking up a LeBron James Topps Chrome pretty soon here. But yeah, over the last 3 months, it's been interesting. I would hazard a guess, unless you've like really played it well, you got to be at least at best somewhere around even. I don't think there's too many people who have made a killing on basketball in the last 3 months. I mean, outside of, once again, unless you own LeBron James Topps Chrome refractors or this crazy high end stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But also I was looking at certain cards. Once again, one we talked about before. I guess we can touch on this real quick. I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick up a Zion. I know Zion prism bases have gotten killed and all this kind of stuff, but I was like, okay, let me get a nice select card, and some of them were up like double. So it's interesting, kind of like that disconnect. It seems to almost vary not only between players but between products, and I'm still trying to figure out if like, okay, but the prism silver is like somewhat up, but then the select killed it, but also like the optic variations are really down. Like it's here's what I'm saying. It's not as simple as like base stuff dead, good stuff up. Like to an extent, the base definitely did get killed, but it's kind of like, I don't know. There's weird variances I'm seeing in these guys' prices.
100%. And like, especially like you can't, like it's super player dependent, and then it's also product dependent. And even like among like with products, there's stuff that not necessarily gets pumped and dumped, but like you see like there's certain influencers that will post a video about one particular card, and that card will double overnight. And like I'm not here to call out any names, but I think that's not necessarily healthy for the hobby, because you have a lot of people that just they buy when other people say buy, and that's not necessarily the way to do it. And like you said, I'm sure there's people that lost money in the last couple months, but were those people doing their own research and making their own decisions, or were they just buying what someone else was telling them to buy? Because like for example, I wasn't picking up LeBron in the last month because like you and I both knew his stuff was going crazy. He kind of had an MVP already baked in. He was the heavy favorite. So that's not the time to buy someone. We both love LeBron, obviously. So I'm with you. I think you really have to be diligent, in particular, and find what you like, and then that's how you can make turn a profit. But dude, Zion, I mean, this kind of off on a tangent, but he's been super exciting to watch. I've caught some games. Yeah, he's shooting 63% from the floor, which is kind of nutty because he's not like your traditional big man. Like he's handling the ball, but he's a bowling ball. He's so tough to stop. He's like I can't even imagine him playing football or something as a defensive end. It'd be nuts. The dude is a freak.
insane. And we've talked about it before. I think I've gave this exact quote before with Zion and with Luka, who's also been playing pretty well for the most part. Like, what did we expect? You know what I mean? Like, Zion is playing, like, I don't know how much better you could expect Zion to play this year, aside from, the Pelicans struggling. But besides that, I don't know what else we could have asked for. And actually, you know what? I'll use that as the transition, because two of the guys I've been looking to pick up are Zion and Luka right now, in terms of that $5,000 portfolio. Because I just think that even the fact that, at best, maybe you could make the argument their prices have kind of held over the last couple months, I just feel like they're just, bound to explode. I just think those guys are, I don't know. I guess so. I'll let you take it away. Where would you be going with modern that's gotten hit so hard? I think an argument also could be made for that stuff I'm talking about. I'm like, should I buy a Kobe Topps? It's 50% off. Then there's the easy play. I have Anthony Davis, and I even looked at a Kyrie today, like the playoff play. What would you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Anthony Davis, and I'm not even a very big Anthony Davis fan, but I think I think he has a real chance to win Finals MVP, and I think I think he's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. I think he's going to really transition and be the better player on that team. I think he's super safe, aside from injuries, which is a concern. And then I'm going to go down on this ship because I think 2 or 3 months ago we had this similar conversation. And I think both prices, actually, if you would have bought then, you would have done well. But I would still urge people to buy, I think, Giannis and Kawhi. And I know you're not the most excited about those two, but it's two players.
I picked them up.
And they're the best player on their team. I think they're both top 2 in their respective conferences. And Giannis especially, it just feels like he's getting better every year. I think his free throw percentage is up, his 3-point percentage is up, and he's super dynamic on defense still. I think he's going to win a title in the next 3 years. So maybe if they don't perform this year, you have another opportunity to buy in the offseason. But God forbid the Bucks come out this year. His prices it's untouchable, because if he has 2 MVPs, he had a down year in the playoffs, but if he follows that up this year and actually delivers on a finals berth, his prices are going to be untouchable. So I think those would be the two more short-term plays. And then obviously, if you were to just buy Luka and Zion and lock it in a vault, I think in 10 years you've done really well, because they're marketed as the future of the NBA, and this year hasn't led me to believe anything else. They're both so fun to watch, and they feel like they're not even, their trajectory is like this still. They're not hitting their peak at all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll say 2 things. The first would be, I agree with you on Luka and Zion, actually, but with this particular investment, my little fund we're starting over here, it's looking more like a 3-month timetable. So I'll put that in the back of your mind when I'm deciding, because I still think it's a debate, actually, versus these 2 guys. And then the one thing I'll say, I agree with you on Giannis and Kawhi. And to be clear, yeah, I did. I've bought some, so I do think their prices will go up. But I'm just still struggling with, I actually don't believe in the Clippers or the Bucks at all. So I guess that's the only thing I'm struggling with those 2.
That's fair. So I mean, you still believe in the Lakers, and you still believe in the Nets. That's kind of your
I would say, yeah, Lakers, Nets, Nuggets. I mean, even to exceed their current expectations, I would even
Phoenix.
Say Phoenix, maybe, like the Celtics and the Heat. I think the Heat are I don't know, they're really struggling right now, but I think an argument could be made. It's like Giannis, when you talk about priced in expectations, it's like, what are Giannis's priced in expectations versus, even Tatum seems a little cheap to me right now. And I'd have to check Jimmy Butler prices, but maybe something could happen there. Just something I'm thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think for you personally, then, because you're the one with the money right now in this exercise, it's not going to work, because you don't have the same, you don't share the same beliefs. But that's the game that we play, right? Because, I think, I'm not saying I think the Bucks are coming out or the Clippers are coming out. I guess I'm just higher on them than general consensus, because I think general consensus kind of wrote Giannis off this year. And then after the Kawhi flop last year, both of these players had their prices cut in half or cut in a third, and they're still not even close to what they were last year. And that's kind of my only take on it. When LeBron stuff triples and then these guys stuff gets cut in half, I'm just kind of thinking that, the market's going to correct itself, but I could be totally wrong. And if there's a flop from both of them again, then, their prices will continue to go down. I think those teams, I think this year especially, I'm not going to be able to pick a team out of either conference confidently. I just think they have pretty much as good of a chance as anyone, especially with all these, stars going down. Even Durant, like the Nets are scary. I think they're going to be good, but I still feel like they can't really defend anyone. And I think the Bucks, when healthy, are, maybe more of a complete team. It just, if Durant comes back and he's healthy, I think the Nets should run the table, but that's a big if at this point. He hasn't played in like a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I think like kind of the stuff you were saying, I think all of them will do well. Like if you buy a Giannis or a Kawhi right now, I've said it the whole time. Like I would just be very surprised if you don't see somewhat of a rise and you don't do well as long as you sell before we see like who actually gets eliminated. Yeah. But I guess the question I would ask, and before I'm going to make you name some names, so we'll see who you go for you. Obviously, just your opinion. But excuse me, Giannis and Kawhi did get cut in half since when they got eliminated, but their stuff has kind of like stayed somewhat level. And I'm looking at someone like, let's just say, for instance, Trae Young. His stuff has gotten, killed. Maybe like 70% or something absurd.
Gone down.
So yeah. So I guess that's my only thing. And then once again, it's so hard to put numbers on this because like how much has Luka really gone down, and it should have, this kind of stuff. But it's kind of like I almost feel like, once again, this is not the highest data driven stuff, but I almost feel like modern like has gotten hit harder than the Giannis's and Kawhis of the world lately. So I guess the question I'd ask is, do you still feel, for you'd rather go with the Giannis and Kawhi play than, for instance, once again, Trae Young? Argument could be made he's down 70%. Is there more upside there?
I think my concern
in the short term.
My concern, and we've always said this, like if you look at the population of each card, obviously, we're not alone. Everyone says that, but I think when you saw like Trae Young silvers, there's over 2,000 now, graded 10. Whereas like Giannis, I think he has like 100 or less than 100.
Yeah.
So that's over 20 times. Like that's ludicrous. You know what I mean? That's 20 times. So that's kind of like where I stand. So I think his base PSA 10s, I think there's less than Trae's silver PSA 10. So that'd be the only reason why, if you're picking up that particular card. But if you're picking up like a higher end Trae Young, I think now is the time to do it. If you're really a believer, because I think his stuff is down and he's actually having kind of like a quietly good last month, and the Hawks have been playing well. I think they're like the 5 seed. So I think he would be a good buy. Donovan Mitchell, his stuff hasn't really risen that much. And he's on like the 1 seed, I think, now in the West. So I think there are short-term modern players that you could invest in and make money. I've just kind of the reason why I stick with those two talking about, because I've looked at prices for the last like 3 or 4 years. So I just kind of have an idea of like where they're at and why I think it's a good buying point. But I think modern stuff you could totally make a killing on. Like SGA, I went into this year really not liking, Shea on the Thunder. I thought he was overrated. He didn't really play well in the playoffs, but damn, like he looks really good. He just got hurt now. I think he might be done for the year, but super talented young guy. And that's like, I think people can easily double or triple their money on someone like him. So I think there's definitely pockets, of money making that you could do with modern guys too.
Yeah, I guess that I agree with you, especially on pop counts and everything like that. I guess the one thing I'm thinking about is one thing I think both of us say is what drives prices a lot of the time is excitement and like eyeballs. And I think, once again, Kawhi and Giannis are just safe plays. I think I don't like being like the prediction sorcerer type guy, but I just think, an easy 30-40% rise around, like you'll see a rise in them is what I'm trying to say. But for instance, Trae Young or Luka, the excitement if they hit a play, like even just a play in game winner to send them to the playoffs, like what potentially could happen in their cards in
Well, you
that
saw
scenario.
Luca,
Yeah, exactly.
case in point, last year he hits the game winner against the Clippers, which is one of the best game winners I've seen in the playoffs. And his stuff went nuts. Like his silvers went up 50% overnight. So I think you're totally right. You just have to be right on those guys, because a lot of times young guys will really get hit in the off season because there's so many of them, and there's people that just want to sell, and less people wanting to buy. So I'm with you. I think you could see a rise with those guys. I guess it's higher risk, higher risk, but maybe higher return as well.
100%.
It really depends if you think these guys can. I mean, my play is more like who's going to make the finals and who could be the best player on that team.
Yeah.
And if the other play would be like, well, who's going to be getting media attention in the next like 6 months, and it could be one of those young guys.
Yeah.
But if they're not in the playoffs, then it's definitely not. You know what I mean?
True. I think you're 100% right. And even something we won't even dive into right now. But if you really want to go super boom or bust, at one point I made in my videos to pat myself on the back that I thought was a pretty good one, is there will be another Tyler Hero moment this year or something, somewhat similar. And if you want to talk about Trae Young getting killed, oh my God,
down 75%.
The Tyler Hero types have gotten absolutely. I mean, just for instance, like people are tired of me talking bad about like PJ Washington on my channel. And, that's probably not a good one because he's on the Hornets and LaMelo is out. But just hypothetically here, like if you bought PJ Washington where he's at right now and he has any type of playoffs moment, oh my God, I can't even imagine what would happen to that stuff. But, we won't dive into it because I know you for sure are not buying any PJ Washington stock.
Yeah.
But I am going to. So we talked about it, the 5,000. I'm thinking going like 1,000, 5 players. Who would you personally buy? And once again, I'm actually probably more with you than you think on the Giannis and Kawhi stuff. I just am playing devil's advocate with the modern, but your opinion. I'm interested to see what 5 players do you think you would get?
Well, let's do this. Could we do 5 modern players off the bat? So or you just want 5 any players?
Yeah, I'm curious to see yours. If you think all 5 there should be no like Luka in there or whatever. I'm just. How about you do yours and then I'll do mine when I'm thinking off the top of my head.
So 5 players. Let's assume they have a card that's gettable from their rookie year. That's in like the $1,000 range.
Yeah, all things being equal, just 5 players you're looking to target right now with a 3-month flip kind of before the playoffs, during the playoffs type of thing.
I mean, I said 2 of them, so we already know Giannis, Kawhi off the bat.
Giannis, Kawhi.
I think. I mean, Shea just went down, so it's kind of tough to pick him. I think Donovan Mitchell, he's kind of had a down year shooting, but I think we saw him in the playoffs last year, and I'm a believer. Like, I think he just has it. Like, he's one of the guys that has the it factor. I think he's clutch, and he gets, when the game gets bigger, his game gets bigger too. So I think he would probably be a 3rd guy. And then LeBron, I mean, it's like the safest, most boring pick, but with his stuff down, 25% in the last month, just wait until if the Lakers make the finals again, it's the same deal. And I think, if they win, we said this last year too, and his prices did become pretty much untouchable. But if he gets another one, I think you're going to have all the talking heads finally saying, okay, he's the best player ever. So there's 4. And then let me think on the 5th. I might bite off of what you said a little earlier, but I think Tatum. I'm holding, probably $20,000 worth of Tatum cards. I'm a big fan. His stuff is honestly down a little bit this year. The Celtics have like a losing record. Brad Stevens, I think, is getting a lot of heat. There's a lot going on with Boston, but he is actually having a really strong year shooting the ball. He's, I think, dishing out a career high assist. So I think he would be a safe pick, especially like you said, if you like the Celtics in the playoffs. If you're a little higher on them than consensus, then I think he could be a good play as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I like that. You've actually kind of swayed me. So I'm gonna go with my 5. And the first one that you kind of swayed me on, that I'm kind of torn on, is I'm gonna get one of LeBron or KD. Now the issue is for me, and I assume 99% of people who are maybe listening at this point, is
what do you get?
It's gonna have to be probably Topps paper, which is something I was looking at. Like, Kevin Durant tops paper PSA 9 is not bad. You can get it for $400, which doesn't sound that bad at all. But also at the same time, once again, the pop counts are high.
Yeah.
Once again, I looked at it again. I was like, still low though compared to Trae Young, but it's just kind of like, do I go? Would I be better served going in the high end market of even someone like Tatum, or just buying Durant or LeBron?
Yeah.
Quick thoughts.
It seems like you think the Nets are coming out. I think it's tough because if Durant doesn't get, the Finals MVP, this sounds really petty, but the market does kind of care about stuff like that. Like you could see James Harden getting a bigger bump if he gets the Finals MVP, or Kyrie if he gets it. Yeah. So I think, another ring is going to bolster all three of those guys. All their prices are going to go up, but I don't know if he's the best net to buy right now, especially with his prices going nuts earlier in the year. He's kind of already seen a lot of appreciation. So I would go LeBron. If you're asking me LeBron or Durant, I'd probably go LeBron, especially if you're not a believer in the Clippers. I think if it's not the Lakers, in my opinion, it's the Clippers. And if you're not a believer in the Clippers, I don't think the Nuggets are doing it. So go buy from LeBron.
No, I think I'm pretty confident LeBron and KD stuff will do really well over the next couple of months, regardless. I guess just my thing is like, I could even get, you said not the best player on the Nets. I was like, I can actually get some pretty nice Kyrie low pop stuff for $1,000. Is that the play rather than buying? Because Durant is obviously above Kyrie, but it's like tops paper, it's higher pop. And I'm the guy with the YouTube channel. I'm supposed to know this stuff, but it's just stuff I'm kind of wrestling with right now. So I don't know. I still think I'm going to figure something out. So I'm going to start off with KD and LeBron sharing that number one spot because I'm going to go one or the other. Then I'm going to go. I'm just going to go Luka. I feel like he's going to have a moment again. So that's the guy I'm going to have. Anthony Davis, one we talked about. And then 4 and 5. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to throw that Kyrie back in there. I think he's just, really cheap. And another thing I'm wrestling with is Prism base, yes, but that 2012 is such low pop.
Right. Well, it's the first year Prism. I think people will always like it. It's iconic.
So I'm going to go with that. And then the last one, I don't know. I can't help myself. I think I'm going to pick up a Zion. Maybe that's not the best play, but I just think that the modern excitement is going to be huge. Yeah. So
the year he's having, Troy, I think you're saying his prices are just kind of like getting back to where they were. I think they'll eclipse that, especially like if they're in the play-in and he has a couple big games, he's unstoppable. He's turning into like, a top 20 player in the league right now. It's kind of nuts, and he's super young too. So I think those two guys are safe. It's just, I feel like they haven't dropped as much as, some of the other guys we talked about, but sometimes buying people when they dip isn't always the move. It's the same thing as stocks. Like sometimes, like if you get into Tesla, even after it's gone up, it may keep going up because people just will always believe,
Yep. It's true. That's something I've kind of learned myself. And I was talking with my brother as well. Like he's such a smart kid that he's always looking for an opportunity to buy on the dip. And I was just kind of telling him like, hey man, listen, like if you had like exactly what you said, if you took that perspective with Tesla, for instance, you missed out on a lot. And I think it's also the same case with cards in certain cases. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to keep you updated on who I ended up picking up. I think a lot of it too, to be fair, is like opportunities, like what comes up. I'm also supposed to even put some soccer in there as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But once again, I actually got some people commenting who were like, I appreciate your honesty, which I appreciate as well, because like I'll speak for both of us. Neither of us know everything. So we try to provide.
Hang on. No, yeah, you're 100% right.
So, we try to provide our best advice for people listening, but I think it's also helpful for them to hear us kind of like talk through this stuff as we figure it out. Yep. Yeah.
And I think sometimes you see like you right now, you're not going to go and spend the $5,000 tomorrow. I think your headspace is it's a good one. I think you're going to be looking at people. You've already named maybe 5 people, in the NBA, and maybe you have another 5 people in soccer that you're monitoring. And then, over the next week or two, you actually can pick out 1 or 2, especially if you see prices stay the same and if people are playing well. A lot of times the market is slow to pick up on trends. Like even last year, this is kind of totally, out of left field, but like Deshaun Watson stuff, not a great example because he's going through the ringer, but his silver 10s were like $300-400 even after he was leading the league in yards. And then like out of nowhere, they double or they triple. I'm sure you've seen that. It's like stuff sometimes like Zion right now, maybe we're not seeing the bump yet because people, the market can be slow to react because he's playing super well. Yeah. If the Pelicans were relevant, his cards would be, probably up 50%.
100%. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll leave it there. Maybe we can follow up next week and I can share you guys what I actually did buy, because like you said, I'm going to be patient and wait for the opportunities, but also it's tough because I believe that in general now is a good time to buy. So I do want to kind of move at least somewhat quickly. So I should have at least a couple pickups by the next episode, and I'll have to share those.
Perfect. Cool. And I'm going to text you prices what you could have gotten, and then we'll see. I might be wrong. You might be like, you know what, Tristan, this is why I didn't believe you.
Exactly. You'll see that. We'll get you some we'll get some screenshots here on the channel.
Nice.
But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.